Hello everyone, welcome to Tuesdays with Trailblazers, brought to you by Martech Edge, the video podcast where we bring you the latest trends and insights in marketing and technology. I'm your host Sadesh, and today we have with us Erica Gunn. Erica is the CMO at Canto. So without further ado, let's welcome Erica. Hey Erica, how are you doing today?
Hello, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Likewise, Erica. To begin with, I was actually checking into your, career path. Really intrigued by your journey stretching 2 decades and a lot of companies, if I were to say so, right? So, could you help us with your journey on the way to becoming a CMO at Canto? I'm sure a lot of budding marketeers would be inspired by it.
Yeah, I think I've had a pretty non-traditional journey to get to where I am today. Without going way too far back in history, I've been in a lot of different industries. I started out in politics in DC. I spent probably 7 years teaching elementary and middle school, but eventually found my way into software and really kind of fell in love with software, which is an odd thing to say. Most little girls don't want to dream of being in software one day, but I love it, and it's just such a great space. And spent a number of years in software, and then went client side for a while, and really kind of worked generally in operations and business operations generally, not so much in marketing. Interestingly, spent a number of years at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in an operations lead role there, and then went over to Nordstrom and really worked in operations for IT before getting into marketing. And they said, we really need to create kind of a marketing ops team. Would you help us build a marketing ops team? To which I said, sure, just tell me what that is first. And I really had no experience in any of it, but they were really on this digital transformation, moving from being a very analog advertising retailer, moving into a very digital advertising and strong on e-commerce. So it was a great learning ground for what does it mean to run digital advertising, and what is marketing operations, and how do creative teams work and bring marketing assets to market, and what does speed to delivery mean, and what's the impact of that. And so I spent quite a few years really building up that team and understanding what the impact was to the business. But I missed my software days, so went back to software, and I've been back in software ever since. But I've also stayed in marketing ever since, and through a couple of sales and acquisitions, kind of found myself in this CMO role here at Canto, which is an exciting place to be because I used to be the kind of customer that we sell to, and it's really a lot of fun working with marketers who sell largely to marketers, because you really understand kind of what their challenges and problems are, and you get to really think creatively about how to solve those problems. But a very long and storied journey, not necessarily. I wasn't a marketing major. I didn't grow up through marketing. I really kind of grew up through ops, and just kind of took my career where the opportunities presented themselves.
When the opportunity presents itself, probably take it. That's how it would be. Perfect. That's really inspiring to know, coming from a non-marketing background all the way up to becoming a CEO. Kudos to you.
It's a lot of fun, and you get to work with a lot of great people, and I think that's the most important part.
Great to know. The next thing, the biggest shift in digital asset management, and something that is very important to Canto as well, is the acquisition of Image Relay. So what does Canto's acquisition of Image Relay mean for the digital asset management industry?
Right. So the digital asset management market is a really healthy, growing market. And just about every company who creates digital assets has a need to kind of manage those and distribute those digital assets. So we see a lot of emerging companies, we see a lot of consolidation, and that really reflects the health, I think, of the market. So for Canto, acquiring Image Relay, this is our second acquisition in about a year. August of last year, we acquired a company called Merlin One that had a lot of really fantastic AI technology, and then we closed Image Relay in September. What we're seeing is both of these companies had a really great base of customers and really great technology, and we look forward to serving the base of customers there. But the innovation, I think, is indicative of what's happening in the market, where people are actually needing more sophisticated technology to manage all their digital assets. So with Merlin One, we were really deploying their AI visual search to Canto, right? When I say AI visual search, what that is natural language search. So you can find whatever asset you have within your damn platform in seconds by using natural language to search for it. But with Image Relay, we were really excited about their capabilities to manage product information. And what I mean by that is brands that sell products have digital assets that tend to sit in their DAM, but then they also have all of this information about their products. Think about about things like their SKU, color lots, sizes, nutritional value, short-term description, long-term description, and all of that tends to sit in spreadsheets. And what Image Relay has done is join the DAM with their product information to create one product hub that joins that information together with the digital asset. And we see a ton of value there for our customers and for their customers to continue to kind of drive that innovation. And when we think about the impact to the market, it means that the DAM market overall, while we see newcomers and we see consolidations, what we don't necessarily see a lot are new flavors of digital asset management. And I think this represents a new flavor of digital asset management because DAMs aren't historically designed to handle your product information, and PIM solutions aren't designed to handle all of your digital assets. And so by having a solution that brings those things together, we can really create a lot of synergy between what am I looking at and what is that product and how do I bring it to market faster. So a company like Kinder that's worked with Image Relay for a long time, they are one of the biggest seasoning brands in the US, saves almost $500,000 a year just in operational efficiency using a solution like this. So we think bringing it to market creates a new variation of a DAM that particularly makes sense for brands that are selling products and emerging brands and growing brands that are selling product. We at Canto, we're industry agnostic. We sell to higher ed. We have customers in travel and tourism. We have customers in all industries. We're going to continue to do that. So this represents a segment of our business, but we still think it drives a lot of really exciting innovation for the brands that really care about their product information as well.
Perfect. And how does this acquisition reflect broader trends in digital content and product data management for enterprises?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question because there's so many trends that are driving marketing behaviors and that are driving, kind of that are the thrust behind making a lot of marketing strategy decisions. And I think there's probably 4 key trends that we see that are in relation to this Image Relay acquisition. One, remote and hybrid work keeps changing, right? We were all working in offices, and then we had COVID, then everyone was working remote, and then it was hybrid, and now people are saying you got to come back to the office again. So it's still shifting, right? And so how we work continues to shift, and that drives a lot of complexity into our collaboration. And as that continues to evolve, the solutions need to evolve with it. So that is a trend that has not stabilized and has not gone away. Generative AI is another one, right? It is multiplying the number of assets we create every day, right? You might have started out with one asset before, maybe one advertisement, maybe one photograph, and now you can create hundreds of variations of that with the press of a button. But guess what? Now you have to manage those hundreds of variations, and where do they go, and how are they distributed, and what's approved and what's not approved. And so generative AI is a trend that is creating a lot of complexity as well. The third one I'd say is the continued growth of the digital marketplace, where getting the attention of an online buyer becomes more and more competitive every day, right? And so that growth of the digital marketplace continues. And then the fourth one I'd say is the growth of the omni-channel presence of brands. So omni-channel isn't a new trend, right? But it's definitely been accelerated through the pandemic, and that this idea of anywhere commerce is continuing to gain traction. And so the margin of error that marketers have to make sure they've got the right image, the right product information out at the right time, you've got a very slim margin of error because it's got to be in all the places all at once, and it really needs to be consistent. And so we see that these trends are driving more business complexity. And so we need to continue to establish solutions for marketers that address those. Things like managing our digital assets more efficiently, the product information more efficiently, de-risk the business by reducing errors, and then removing the friction between and within teams and external teams that allows us to go to market with more speed and agility. So particularly for companies in CPG, retail, manufacturing, or really any company that sells a product, there's a lot of significance in having that holy grail of a single source of truth between what are your product shots, your editorial shots, and all of your product information and data, connecting that inventory together. And that allows us to bring products to market faster with fewer errors and support that kind of omni-channel go-to-market experience. And it creates a better customer experience for the customers that they're trying to sell to as well.
Great. I mean, that's really insightful, some of the information that you provided out there. Now, with this merger, which industries, I mean, you said you're industry agnostic, but with which industries do you expect benefit the most from Canto's new integrated DAM and PIM solutions?
Yeah. Well, like I said, we have customers across every vertical and every industry, and this will matter to some more than others, that's for sure. Interestingly, Image Relay really focuses on brands that sell a product, right? So if you're a brand that sells a product, particularly a fast-growing brand that sells a product, we believe that this is a really exciting solution for those customers. So when you think about retail, CPG, manufacturing, those are kind of natural fits. But I do think we can look broader than that. So as I mentioned before, Canto sells a lot into higher education, right? We have a lot of really exciting higher education brands. Well, most of those brands have bookstores where they're selling shirts and sweatshirts and hats and notebooks and backpacks and all of the things. And so they've got an online presence, they've got a brick and mortar presence. And how are they bringing those products to market? That's not their core business. That's not why they're in business, right? But you can imagine that they're probably operating out of spreadsheets and some cloud storage solution and trying to kind of manage it on a shoestring, whereas a solution like this within higher ed or museums or zoos or art collection space or any of these other industries that perhaps have branches that they're selling a physical product, this is a solution for them as well.
Great. Now, coming back to the acquisition, how does it affect the existing customer base of both the companies in terms of platform migration or service continuity?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's one that customers tend to get really nervous about, right? We acquire companies that have a reputation of having a high quality, high touch support system where their customers love working with the companies. That's really important to us. And we always kind of maintain that continuity of that high touch, high quality support. We offer that to our customers, and as we join together with other companies, we expect that to continue as well. So for existing customers, the level of support and the level of engagement that they receive today, they shouldn't expect to change there. That's something that we hold very precious to us in how we work with our customers and support our customers. We are excited to bring the product information piece of the Image Relay technology into the Canto technology. So kind of connecting that Image Relay PIM with the Canto DAM, we definitely have a very robust digital asset management platform. And by bringing that PIM capability into our existing DAM platform, we see that as being something that will be very exciting we have over 3,500 customers in Canto, and some portion of them will be really excited about bringing that technology together. But also I can imagine Image Relay customers being excited about being able to take advantage of other technologies that we have that they don't take advantage of today. For example, that AI visual search that we talked about, the ability to do natural language search and potentially search across the DAM and the PIM to find exactly what they're looking for, really in seconds using natural language. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity out there for our collective customer base to really take the technology and the platform they have and gain a lot of additional value out of it. We don't have a migration timeline in place at this time for anybody on Image Relay. We want them to be exposed to what we have to offer and to be excited about that. And we see a lot of synergies between how the Image Relay company operates. They've got great people. They really care about their customers. So does Canto, and we feel like it's a really good fit for everyone.
Makes sense. I'm pretty sure it's going to be beneficial for both set of customers, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a seamless transition for both of them. Right? Now, coming back to advantages after speaking about what challenges there could be, what competitive advantages does the Canto Image Relay merger create within the digital asset management landscape?
Right, like I said, I think that this brings a different flavor of digital asset management and a different flavor of PIM, frankly. I mean, we haven't talked a ton about the PIM market, but the PIM market tends to be very narrowly focused on product information, right? And then the DAM space is all your photo, your photography, your documents, your advertising, your all videos, all those digital assets. And neither one really speaks to the other, but they're both intrinsically linked, right? So I think that a competitive advantage is for those brands that are selling products, physical products, who are growing, emerging and quickly growing brands. This provides a solution for those potentially mid-market companies where there really isn't another solution on the market that does exactly what we do. So I think it brings a new flavor or a new version of digital asset management and a new version of product information together and brings that to market in a way that other solutions don't support it as holistically as we will.
And how will the combined platform enhance data accuracy and, let's say, consistency across organizations? And what impact will this have on the customer experience?
Right. So, I mean, because it's a purpose-built platform that creates a single source of truth for all product information and digital assets, that centralization is going to minimize the discrepancies of, getting the right information out to the right platform at the right time. So you can imagine, for example, if you've got a product that you're selling and you might sell on Amazon, you might sell on your own e-commerce platform, you might sell at Lowe's, you might sell at Home Depot. Each one of those distributors is looking for a different set of information in a different format in order to sell your product, right? And so if you're working out a spreadsheet, so you can imagine pretty quickly that gets out of control. You have a lot of data inaccuracy and it becomes very cumbersome to manage. And so having a platform where you can manage all of that information, have different outputs automatically for different vendors, and you can have your product shots and your editorial shots together, that platform, that centralizes approach really de-risks your business as it relates to data accuracy, timeliness, the correct image, the correct information getting to the right place at the right time. And there's also an efficiency piece as well, because workflows and version controls help to streamline updates, help to streamline distribution, and then any changes to your product details or any changes to your marketing materials are quickly reflected across those channels. So you can imagine you've gone to market with a certain product for a number of years, and now you've done a repackaging. Well, now you need to get rebranding, repackaging assets out to all of your vendors. Being able to do that in a consolidated way really makes things happen a lot faster, and time to market, speed to market is super important. And then when we look at the impact on customer experience, that's pretty significant when brand accurate and cohesive, and customers see in all of the channels where they're absorbing that information about your brand that it's consistent. They know your brand better and they can make more informed purchasing decisions and have more confidence in what they're purchasing, right? And so that consistent product detail, consistent product visuals across multiple touch points really build trust and reliability amongst your customer base, which as marketers is something that's really important to us.
Couple of questions, just few generic ones. As a non-marketer stepping into marketing roles, as you rightly said, you had a penchant for software more than marketing. So what are some challenges that you encountered when you actually transitioned into marketing, and what are some advantages you feel you had when you actually stepped into marketing to a usual marketer?
Yeah, maybe I can start with the advantages. I think when you spend time in lots of different parts of the business, not just in one part. So when I first got into technology, I did everything. I say I did everything except for code software and answer the phone. But I really did sit in operational teams, sit in the consulting side of the business, sitting on the product side, the biz dev side. When you start to see how a company works or how a business works holistically, then what you're bringing to marketing is not just marketing fundamentals, but you're understanding the impact. If I make this decision, here's the impact it has to the product team. Here's the impact it has to the e-commerce team. Here's the impact it has to the sales team. And I think by being in a lot of different roles and seeing a lot of different things, it actually made me a more well-rounded marketer because I understood the implications. Or if I heard that product was going to do A, B, and C, right, I'd say, oh, wait a minute, that impacts what we're doing over here. Whereas I think perhaps if you haven't spent time in other parts of the business, you may not pick up on that as quickly. So I usually encourage people, like, if you want to get into marketing or sales or product or whatever for that matter, take the opportunity to get into a business, doesn't matter the role, and work your way around and learn all the elements of the business, because then when you land that job that you really wanted, you'll really truly understand how that role impacts the rest of the business, which I think is super important. The challenges coming into it are I think those same challenges coming into anything new, where you really have to be willing to be quiet and listen and learn things and be curious. To me, having been in operational roles, non-operational roles, consulting roles, marketing roles, whatever. To me, it's always kind of the same. They're all kind of the same in the sense that you start with a starting point, you have an outcome that you want to get to, and then you just have to find the fastest path from start to finish. And then when you come into a place like marketing or any new spot, it's really just understanding and learning the vocabulary. And that's the piece that requires patience and learning.
Great to know that. And being a non-marketer yourself, do you think sometimes not being from the marketing fraternity and entering the marketing fraternity altogether, you kind of break the shackles of, the traditional marketing approach that usually people have?
I think because, again, you're coming into it not saying this is how we should do it because this is how we've always done it. I didn't know how we always did it. So I didn't have a lot of those preconceived notions, right? Another transition that was interesting was going from B2B marketing, from B2C marketing to B2B marketing, because that's very different too. Selling to direct to consumers, through my time at Nordstrom, you're selling shoes and handbags and dresses and coats, right? And that's a very different pace and rhythm than a 3-month or 6-month or whatever your sales cycle happens to be selling to a company. But there's still principles that apply. And if you're thoughtful and creative, you can see how one discipline impacts the other. But it's all about not coming in with preconceived ideas or notions for how something must be done.
Got it. And coming from a product side of things, do you think it gives you an edge being a marketer to move your GD motions in place, specifically for situations like this merger, where your positioning and your messaging actually has to change accordingly? So do you think being a person on the product side of things actually helps?
I think it does. As somebody who's spent time in product, but also as somebody who's been a consumer of technology that we're selling, I think what's most important in positioning and go-to-market is that you deeply understand your customer, the challenges that they're facing, and what an ideal solution would look like. And anyone can create like a go-to-market messaging, right? But how well it works depends on how well you actually truly understand and know the people that you're selling to. So I happen to be in a lucky position where the products that we sell at Canto are products that when I was at Nordstrom, I was shopping for, buying, implementing, and using on a daily basis. So I get it. But at the same time, I was still only a use case of one, right? It doesn't mean like it's like that at every company. So being truly curious about the customer experience, I think, is the most important thing to be successful on kind of that go-to-market positioning.
Perfect. And one last question. It's pretty much about, the latest buzzword, that's AI. Marketing technology also leverages AI. And there are certain people who believe that marketing is a creative space. And, AI shouldn't actually be out there because it destroys creativity. So are you one of those CMOs who says that, AI is something that we need, but at the same time, marketing has to have creativity? Or are you one of those who wants to sit on the fence?
I will tell you I'm a little on the fence about it. I will say that I think there are places where AI is helpful. Let's be specific. We're talking about generative AI, where I think generative AI is helpful. And for example, if you're going to build a whole new landing page and you want a start on the copy, but you can't just even with the great technology that's out there, you still need a human to make sure, does this make sense? Does it sound like us? Does it sound like our customer? You still need, so I do think there's a place where it can give us like a jump start and make things a little faster. I would never rely on it exclusively. And there's a lot of AI out there that just gets it wrong. When you're searching for, when you're using those AI prompts to search for information, I've looked up things and found the information that I got back was just not true or just incorrect or like really, really out of date. So I think it's interesting, but I'm a little on the fence about it. And as it relates to the creativity, I think we've been using different technologies for a long time that allow us to take something that's real and make it, flashier, different. You've been able to Photoshop things forever, right? So it's not like now you can just push a button and Photoshop things instead of doing all the work. So I don't know that it's that much different, but I do think that to be a good marketer, you've got to put thought behind it. And I don't know if just automating everything gets you there. I just don't believe that.
Makes perfect sense. I mean, those were some wonderful insights, Erica. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to see how this merger actually shapes up and transform the digital asset management and the PIM space. Erica, I really enjoyed hosting you on our podcast Tuesdays with Trailblazers. And thank you all for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review. Until next time, stay tuned with Martech Edge for more insights into all things marketing and technology. Till we meet again, signing off, your host Sadesh.